What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone's having a fantastic evening, afternoon, pre-noon, no matter where you are in the world. I'm Hasan Piker, and this is the HasanDaily broadcast coming to you live from gloomy and doomy California, Los Angeles, folks. We're live and alive, and I hope all the boys, girls, and MBs are having a fantastic one because today's a beautiful day. Today's a wonderful day. Today is a special day, as it is always. This Newsday Tuesday. It's October 7th, 2025. Candace Owens, yesterday we briefly covered this, but Candace Owens revealed that Charlie Kirk revealed a post-mortem text message thread about Charlie Kirk that doesn't look too good necessarily. Kind of makes him is a post-mortem Charlie Kirk was actually anti-Semitic. Look at what he was saying type situation. But like Candace obviously was posting it because she thought it portrayed Charlie in a positive light, but it leaked some interesting text messages. Obviously hurts my soul seeing so many leftists take Candace Owens at face value. It's so funny because like she's just not very good at putting together like a convincing argument. At least for me, like whenever I hear her try to talk about something, she just always comes across as like CUKOO for Cocoa Puffs. And it's like, I should want to believe this narrative that, you know, Israel killed Charlie Kirk, right? I hate Israel. And this kind of false narrative actually moves the attention away from like the Antifa transgender, cynical smears, you know what I mean? Like it just kind of separates people's attention at a time when if they were like more united, they could probably start doing like criminal prosecutions and whatnot. But she was so incredibly anti-Semitic and has been. And by the way, I don't use this term lightly. Okay. I'm not the type of person who will just go around and start calling people anti-Semitic because they're anti-Israel. Obviously that'd be pretty funny of me to do, right? Like there are some people who just are straight up anti-Semitic, and that doesn't, you know, invalidate the pro-Palestinian position even a little bit. There are just some people who I think hate Jews more than they care about saving Palestinians, right? My point is that she's not even doing a very good job with this stuff because like there's so many things she has said about in the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk stuff that's just so fucking crazy, so cuckoo. What exactly did you mean calling Candace crazy? What do you specifically mean? Precise language can help bring people together, in my opinion. Yeah, I think her theories are completely insane. Even when it comes to like Charlie Kirk being potentially assassinated by Israel, I've extensively covered it. I mean, it's good for me, right? I believe women. Exactly. Me too. I believe women as well. So obviously, you know, I can't criticize her too much. More power to her. But like the things that she has put together have been far too grand. She does stuff like this all the time. Like there's a million different ways to attack Macron. And the only way not to attack Macron is by going into a legal battle where you are getting sued for defamation because you kept calling Macron's wife transgender. She's literally a pedophile. Why don't you just say the truth that Macron's wife is a pedophile? Because if you were to say that, nobody could actually attack you because she actually is a pedophile. But instead of doing that, you had to go the extra step and make up some insane shit. No exit wound is a biggie though. Yes, there are inconsistent things with the Charlie Kirk assassination. There always will be. There always will be like people poking holes in the official narrative, and the official narrative is murky, and I don't discount that at all. It's just that if we're going to scrutinize the official narrative, we also need to scrutinize the counter narratives. And the counter narratives are the ones that are at least coming from Candace Owens. Some of them have new information that maybe the public previously had not acknowledged or knew about, but a lot of the counter narratives are just like crazy. Like, oh, there's actually a separate hole in the ground, and like It was a Jewish tunnel that, someone popped out of, or it's too far-fetched for it to be potentially real. To put it simply, Candace Owens is a politics and drama YouTuber who warps celebrity news and true crime to fit primarily transphobic and anti-Semitic narratives. She also denies the Holocaust and says the real ethnic cleansing was of Germans. She's a grifter. Yeah, it's funny to see like a black woman do the whole, like, the Bolsheviks did the real genocide of Christians. Like, why doesn't anybody talk about that? It's like, bro, you are literally a black woman. Like, that is crazy. Because that is like, oh, the Jews are responsible for the death of like 60 million Christians. Narrative is like a white supremacist one. Like, that's not even your gripe. You know what I mean? That's not a conversation that you're a part of at all. It's also a ridiculous statement to begin with, because, like, the Bolsheviks are goated, obviously. And what Christians were doing, what white Christians were doing to black women at the same time frame was not great, to say the least. But if someone says they are not anti-Semitic, shouldn't we believe them? I'm not saying she's great. Wait, what? I don't understand why you think she's being disingenuous with her denying being anti-Semitic. And what is CUKOO? Yeah, Candace Owens is a grifter in the way that, like, she's an OG grifter, right? As a black woman, she spent a good deal of time working for a Zionist white supremacist institution that was known as the Daily Wire. At the time, she was pro-Israel, obviously, but she was also still very much anti-Semitic. She said a whole bunch of stuff like, Hitler just wanted to make Germany great. And nationalism isn't like a scary thing. Fascism, people keep saying it's fascism, but like Hitler just wanted to make Germany great. But then he became a globalist when he started invading other countries. And then that's when it spiraled out of control. But like what Hitler was doing in an effort to make Germany great was obviously concentration camps for socialists, Jews, communists, trade unionists, and whoever the superior master race of Aryans decided were undesirable. So obviously, even on that aspect, it wasn't great at all. So that was seen as, understandably, a deeply anti-Semitic thing to say. But the Daily Wire, led by Ben Shapiro, still hired her after that statement. There's been a whole bunch of other incidents as well, but it's not even just like her anti-Semitism necessarily. She has every single bigotry locked down. She is the type of person who has used her identity as a shield in an effort to basically say the shit that white supremacists at the time were too afraid of saying out loud and in public. She is a black face for white supremacy, right? I mean, she spent most of her career at the Daily Wire positioning herself against George Floyd and positioning herself against Black Lives Matter and against black people in general. Candace Owens was anti-Semitic and pro-Israel at the time when she was working at the Daily Wire. She got fired from the Daily Wire, not due to her anti-Semitism, but due to her anti-Israel position. Because as Ben Shapiro has very openly stated, and I covered this at the time extensively, if you want to go back and see my statements on it, Candace Owens is a bigot of every order. I mean, she's anti-black, she's anti-women, she's anti-Semitic. She is everything. But what's interesting about Candace Owens is that she's anti-trans as well, of course, but she's not very good, I think, at packaging all this stuff. She does have a decent understanding of what gets her clicks, what gets her views. She does do a decent job of like merging, as another chatter was saying, true crime and like celebrity news with right-wing propaganda. And I think that's where she shines. That's definitely where she really pops off. That's why she's become a ginormous force in the sphere of political commentary. But I do think it's interesting because like a lot of people just operate on this like weird binary where they think that like black people could not be servants of white supremacy. Like they can. And there are plenty of black Republicans who actually do this and play this role, play this job. Is she actually a Holocaust denier? I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't like dove too much into her anti-Semitism stuff, with the exception of like that very famous like Hitler just wanted to make Germany great quote, which I guess she's now saying was taken out of context. But I actually did give the full context of the quote where she was defending nationalism, German nationalism, by saying like nationalism is not a dirty word and people shouldn't actually think it's a dirty word. That was the argument that she was trying to make. But I wouldn't be shocked if she has said other things that are also in the range of Holocaust denial. It wouldn't shock me at all. Like Douglas Murray is a monstrous dick rider of Israel, and he has made a living for many, many years talking about how nationalism isn't a dirty word, but at least he's smart enough not to associate it with Nazi Germany. He will always say, well, we shouldn't think nationalism is bad because the Germans like fucked up and were stupid and wanted to murder Jews or whatever, right? Like that was his argument. Whereas for CANDACE, she was like, nationalism is not a dirty word. And actually, German nationalism was good until Hitler decided to invade other countries, and then it became bad. And it's like, no, it was actually pretty bad. German nationalism in and of itself was really bad, as a matter of fact. I'm not saying every single thing that she believes, because I don't know what she actually believes, because she used to be like anti-Trump, for example, back in like 2016, before she got plucked by some incredibly Islamophobic ultra-Zionists, ironically enough. David Horowitz, rest in piss, and Ben Shapiro, ironically enough, were the reasons why she became this like prominent fixture of Republican politics, because it was a bunch of ultra-Zionist, Islamophobic Jewish guys that literally plucked her and groomed her into becoming this force. And then she basically turned around and was like, actually, I'm anti-Semitic. And they were like, no, that's totally fine as long as you're pro-Israel. And she was like, of course I'm pro-Israel. And then she was like, I'm anti-Semitic and also anti-Israel. And they were like, whoa, 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 what are you doing? You can't, that's not how this works. You're fired. That's literally what happened. Hating on Candace is weird. Remember your hot take on Charlie Kirk not turning on Israel? What about that new group chat text? You say that's going to be fake or what? I do think that if you are tuning into Candace Owens' frequency, it's going to be quite difficult for me to convince you of anything, because I'm sorry to say this, but you're kind of fucking stupid. Charlie Kirk publicly turning on Israel is entirely different than Charlie Kirk expressing his discontent with his Zionist donors for constantly calling him a fucking anti-Semite after years and years of service. That I don't think those text messages are fake at all. I don't think you understand. I never said those text messages are fake. As a matter of fact, I actually applauded the gray zone reporting on the previous text messages and the previous Charlie Kirk meetup that took place with like Bill Ackman and whatnot. The only thing I'm calling into question is this false notion that Charlie Kirk was inevitably going to turn on Israel. These guys are shrewd political operators. They are tied to the hip with Donald Trump. And until Donald Trump turns on Israel, how do I know? That's a fantastic question. You want to know how I know? Because I was supposed to fucking debate him on Israel. That's how I know. Because what we were supposed to debate on was Gen Z, specifically on Israel. You are full of shit, man. Still love you though, gang. All right, brother. Charlie Kirk has never throughout his career sidestepped Donald Trump. He was attached to the hip. Once he was pro-Trump, he was initially anti-Trump, but once he became pro-Trump, he just stuck with Trump the entire way, and he got rewarded tremendously for it. And one of the best examples of Charlie Kirk actually recognizing that something was really fucked up was the Epstein stuff, right? But if you recall, his own personal convictions on the Epstein stuff played no role in his commentary, because once he got the boss call from Donald Trump, he just straight up said, I'm done talking about Jeffrey Epstein. So do I think Charlie Kirk had a lot of anger and animosity towards Israel privately? Abso-fucking-lutely. They all do. Bill Clinton, literally in, I think it was 1996, came out of a meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu and very famously said, who the fuck does this guy think is the superpower here? Bill Clinton also still was a monstrous dick rider of Israel. It doesn't matter. These guys all fucking openly despise Benjamin Netanyahu and all of the arrogant Israeli envoys, but ultimately they still defend Israel. They're attached to the hip on Israel. You have to understand that. And Charlie Kirk was never going to sidestep the Trump administration. Charlie Kirk spent most of his career defending Israel aggressively, saying things that are heinous about the Palestinian population. People saying, or people having their own personal opinions about like how fucking gross, arrogant, entitled, and annoying Israel is, does not actually change their output at all, does not change their decision making at all. Candace, being one of the only anti-Israel voices online, is going to cook the internet for the next decade, dude. She's hopping on this rocket ship and riding it to the moon, and these media illiterate Zoomers just eat this shit up. I know. Brandon Carrot is a good take on this, okay? Charlie Kirk on a show. Listen, you have to kill and starve those kids. The rapture is coming. Israel's our greatest ally. My producer says Aaron Bushnell is Colonel Crispy. Charlie Kirk on Signal. Shlomo Borowitz didn't drop the usual $2 million. Classic move from the shysters. Yeah, that's literally it. Okay. If you think Charlie Kirk wasn't like one, understandably angry at like the Zionist donors that were constantly fucking calling him an anti-Semite because he recognized that like the floor was moving underneath these guys, and he saw it because he was constantly at fucking college campuses. So he was around these people and he was like, guys, we have to do something about this fucking anti-Israel sentiment. Like, we have to find a better way to communicate to Gen Z about like Israel, because like we're losing the support. This is going to be a major issue. I said this before. It's like, it's much easier to convince Americans to take an anti-Israel position on the virtues of like anti-Semitic conspiracies than it is to explain to them why America is so attached to the hip to Israel with like materialist analysis. And then on top of that, talking about like the consistent and pervasive Zionist lobby and the Zionist influence network that exists in Western society, so that the money flow doesn't stop to Israel. What do you mean anti-Semitic conspiracies? It's so much easier to convince an American that Jews control the media, and they, and they're a monolithic group that just wants to melt the Palestinians. It's something that Jews control the media, Jews control the banks. Like these sorts of concepts already exist, like the nascent anti-Semitic conspiracies, because you could just present it as like, look at how many Jews are in positions of power, even though there aren't that many Jews, right? So that's already existed in American society and in Western society in general. There's also a long history of these sorts of takes that have played a formative role in even the Holocaust, for example, right? And numerous pogroms that took place beforehand. It's a classic meta. Blame one group that you have identified as the enemy always, in an effort not to actually address the real material harm that the overwhelming majority of the populations are experiencing. A man by the name of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, as a matter of fact, talked extensively about this.